Our first video for you today is going to be how to manually quantize your drum recordings in your DAW. We do offer this service at Drum Audio Editing, however, if you are producing your own drum recordings, then it's a super vital skill to have, so please stick around and we'll show you how to do just So here's my session, and as you might be able to tell, I'm in Logic Pro X. Don't worry too much if you have another DAW, because the concept is still the same across the board and you'll still be able to apply this to whatever you're using, so don't worry too much about that. What I want to do here is just quickly prep you for drum quantizing and making sure you've got all the right settings in place. And the first thing that I want to show you is just this drag section up here. And this will probably be selected to overlap, so you want to make sure it's selected to crossfade. And what that'll do is when you drag two pieces of audio together, it will crossfade them and allow for a smooth transition, whereas if that wasn't selected, it wouldn't sound right. So make sure you have that selected. I don't know how you do this in other DAWs, but whatever setting you have for adding crossfades, make sure you do that. I know some of them do let you apply crossfades after, so if that is the case, make sure you do that. The next thing I'd say is make sure that you haven't snapped your audio to any large increments to the grid, so make sure it's not snapped to a beat or a bar. Make sure it lets you drag the audio in as little increments as possible so you can drag it accurately and freely to wherever you need to. So if you are in Logic, it's just up here, make sure it's selected to Smart. As you can see, if you select it to beat, then you don't have much control over where you drag it. So we'll select that back. The last thing that I just want to tell you about is make sure you're zoomed in the right amount, because if you zoom in too far, for example about here, then that is just way too close. It doesn't really, it's too detailed, that, and it's not going to help you out, and you're going to get lost in your session and it's just going to be a mess. Likewise, you don't want to be too far out, because you can't really place your audio with much accuracy being this far away from the more intricate grid lines here. So as a general rule of thumb, you want to have about 2 bars of audio in your window. So we've got 2 bars here, somewhere around there. So once you've prepared your session, we can get started. The first thing that I'll say is to highlight all your drum tracks and select them all. And what that will do is whatever you do to one of them, whether that's cut, paste or drag, it's going to do the same to all your drum tracks, and that'll stop you from dragging one out of time with the other and causing phasing issues, which you don't want in your recordings because it'll ruin it completely. So first point to do, just highlight and select all your drum tracks. I'll also add before we get started that you only want to quantize your kick, your snare and your toms, and that is because in more, I'd say heavy, more intense sections of the song, you won't be able to distinguish individual hits for your cymbals, although you can in this one. This is a fairly empty section, but yeah, it can be very hard to actually quantize cymbals in time, and you usually find once you quantize your kick, your snares and your toms, then your hat and cymbals will all fall in time nicely. So that's another thing to take into consideration. So if we get to the first beat of bar number 10 here, the start of the verse, we've got a kick, and you can see that there's a bit of audio before the beat should hit. Just here, if you can see it slightly, and what that is, that's the attack of the hit, and you do want that before the actual beat, because if you drag the actual start of the audio, the attack, after the beat, then your drums will sound a bit laggy. So in order for them to sound in front and not like the lagging behind the rest of the instruments, you want the attack of the hit to be before the beat. So that is about right for us, to be fair. So if we go into beat number 2, we've got a snare hit, and you can see by the gap here between the guideline and the snare hit that it is slightly late. So what we want to do is drag the guideline slightly before where the snare should hit, and what that does, that creates a bit more space, a bit more freedom for the crossfade to be there and not interfere with any of the cymbals or other things going on. So we'll cut there and clip back where the snare should hit. What that'll do, that'll create your own little guideline for your ear in order to line up the snare to. So we can drag the snare just so the attack of the hit is just before, say about there, and that is about right, that. And you can also see here that the crossfades have added themselves in. So if we go to beat number 3 here, I'd say that is a little bit too late, that, to be honest, or a little bit too early rather. Thing is, you don't want to go overboard with this, because you can easily cross the line going from, you know, a professional recording to a very mechanical and unhuman sounding recording. So but I would say that is pushing it. So I'm going to drag this pointer just before the audio, leaving a bit of space again, cut it, click where the kick should be, and then use that as a guideline, leaving a bit of the attack before the guideline, and then drag the audio, or drag the file over the other files, and that creates your crossfade there, and that'll make this transition nice and smooth. So that is how to quantize your drums manually. It's not a hard task to do, but it will completely change the sound of your performance and really improve your recordings. So thank you for watching this video, and if you do have any suggestions of topics you want me to cover, then please comment below and I'll do my best to cover them as soon as possible. Before you go, I just want to quickly mention about our new ebook, which is for session drummers and for drummers looking to make a living on YouTube. And what we do is teach you how to create a professional online presence, and then release your content effectively and promote it effectively as well. So if you are interested in our free ebook, then click the link in the description and that'll take you to our website where you can download it for free.